Kyle Dubas is the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kyle has been kind enough in this busy period for him to join us on the phone from Glendale. Kyle, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey guys, how are you?
Very good, very good. All right, let's dive right into it here. Was Saturday the tipping point for you? I know you are not that kind of person. You look at a large piece of or large pieces of evidence to make decisions. However, when you left that arena in Pittsburgh Saturday, did you know this had to happen?
I think the nature of the loss certainly didn't leave. You would never leave any arena, and regardless of where you're at as an organization, feeling good about a loss like that. And I think it just added to a number of the things that were sort of building and entering into our thinking. But I wouldn't say that it was the tipping point, but rather a pretty big contributing piece of evidence to where we were heading as an organization.
What do you hope that this gets across to your team by firing the head coach?
I think that what we're hoping it gets across, Tim, is that we have a lot of belief in the group, and I know that given our current state and our current record, that I think rightfully so, that there would be a lot of people who would doubt that, and I respect that. I totally understand why there's skepticism and there's doubt about the group, the composition of the group, the performance of the players, the performance of management, the performance of the coaches, so on and so forth. I think our belief is that and I think people have seen it, and there's a reason why people had high expectations for the group heading into the season, and that is that it is capable with its talent level of accomplishing great things. And our hope is that the change can spur some differences in the way that we play and the way that we operate, and help to get us towards reaching that potential, which is, I know, a dangerous word, but that's really what we're hoping for.
Kyle, the decision in the summer not to do this then, and seeing you standing at that podium, you were fairly measured, and you weren't going to jump into anything. But in the end, obviously, Mike came back. What did you hear from Mike in the summer that didn't match what was happening on the ice over these first 23 games?
Yeah, I guess first off, Sid, I understand that it's certainly when you make those types of decisions at the end of seasons and what to do, the intention is that everything is going to work out. You're going to have some discussions with one another, figure out what the differences are, as you would with any coach or I think I've only worked in hockey for better, for worse. So at the end of every year, I think, as I said that day, Shanny will evaluate me, and then I would in turn evaluate the rest. And so, I think with everybody, we wanted to sit with them and sort of outline what we were looking for and where we wanted to go. And I think that the blame falls on me that we weren't able to bridge those gaps in terms of style and incorporating the players in, and certainly I think as Sheldon alluded to today, just a little bit of the spirit and energy around the group begun to fade here in the last stretch as things weren't going our way, and that's really what I saw and what our organization saw that made us move towards a change. And I think Mike did a lot of great things for the organization, and we were in a very different spot when he arrived than where we're at. And I know it's a little bit disingenuous now given the events of yesterday, but we really appreciate those, and I think in the long run those will serve the organization very well.
Just to kind of clarify, I heard Brendan Shanahan say that he wanted people to know that you guys were aligned on how you see the team, and the word simpatico was also thrown out there. Do you feel like you lost some of that cooperation along the way with Mike Babcock?
I think, when I came in, I think, Mike and I worked together for parts of 5 seasons, and I think, you never want a whole organization of people that think the exact same way, but I think anybody who worked here would know that we have different ways of thinking. And I think you never, as I said, you don't want to have everyone thinking the exact same thing about every topic, but I think when you really find success is when you can sharpen the contrast and then bring them together to benefit every facet of the group, because the players aren't the same either. So what I think about players and systems isn't going to work for everybody, and same with Mike. I think we felt that as as an organization, Brendan, myself, and others in management, that in this last stretch here, that those differences were probably not going to be bridged, and it was probably time and best for everybody just to have a fresh start and move on.
Right. Kyle, I'll get to Sheldon here in a second, but I just want to bring up Tyson Barrie. Obviously, he struggled. Obviously, you had a lot of faith in him, and the numbers would say that was justified. Has he in any way said to you he's unhappy with the spot with the organization and would like a move in his contract year? Has he said that at all? And has there been interest from other teams around the league considering what he's done in the past?
Well, so number one, there has been interest, but and number two, it has never been asked of us from Tyson or his representation at Newport Sports to move him. And in the last week or so, I think with any player, especially one as accomplished, and not just with statistically, but also in terms of what you watch what you see when you're scouting him, or you're watching in the past when he was with Colorado watching them play. He wasn't, certainly his form was not at that level. And I think with every new player that comes into an organization, there's always some challenge. In Tyson's case, he was also coming into the organization in a very important year in his life and in his career overall. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season, and there's a lot riding on the line. So I think that the pressure of trying to adjust, and then once it starts to maybe not live up to, once he starts to feel like he's not living up to his usual standard for himself, there's a pressure aspect that comes into it. And I think Tyson and I have had great discussions especially over the last stretch, and just trying to help him find that and show him the reasons and what we saw when we acquired him, and even some of the great moments that he's had here. And I think everyone, you look at the stat line, you look at some glaring moments. I think every defenseman who has offensive instincts and has offensive ambition is going to have moments where they don't go perfectly. But showing him that the player that we acquired is right in there. We just need to bring it out of him, and we're committed to doing that as long as he's willing to put in the work. And I think anyone who knows him or has ever played with him knows that he's going to put in the work, and he wants to be a great player.
Right.
Kyle, in terms of your roster as a whole, could there be change coming? I know you're handcuffed in certain areas. I understand that. But when you look between now and February 24th, depending on how the next X amount of games go, like where's your head at right now?
I think where we're at right now is we want to give the team here just a run of play to see how they respond to Sheldon. Let Sheldon begin to put in some of the different tactical items that he wants to put in, and begin down that road. And then he and I, as we have always in the past, will continue to talk, and we'll look at the players that are available. Maybe there are players that are better fits for us now than they would have been, and we can go down that path. And I think a lot of teams are in that spot, guys, where they're right up against the cap, or they're into long-term injury. So, I think everyone in the league, barring, save for a few that have a good amount of cap space, will be having to get creative on transactions as the year comes along. And I think we've got a great support staff here with Brandon Frittiman, Lawrence Gilman, and Daryl Metcalf. They've always got a number of ideas and different ways we can try to go about things to help us. So we'll take a look at everything, but I think we have a strong belief in the group, and we're excited to see. There's going to be some bumps along the way, and it's not going to be easy right off the bat, and making a change where the coach literally has no practice time, and it's certainly not optimal, and that's my fault. But I think we want to give the group a stretch to get going here, see where we're at, and then evaluate well before the deadline and see what we might need.
General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Kyle Dubas, joining us here on Tim and Sid. What are you most excited about Sheldon Keefe bringing to the table, Kyle?
I think for me, he and I have worked together for a long time. I think it's been 7 years or 7+ years that we've worked together. So we know each other well. We've got a good relationship. I think what he'll bring to the table is his ability to breathe some life into the group that needs it, and I think inspire the players to be free and be creative. With the expectation is that just doesn't come with no regard for the defensive end, and there's going to be required a certain level of tenacity defensively, and our goal will be to stay on offense, and we have the puck to keep it, and when we don't have it, to work as hard as we possibly can to get it back as soon as we possibly can. And really we've got a roster that I know it hasn't played to the level that anybody expects yet, but it's a very talented, creative group, and I think what Sheldon, as he alluded to today, is he'll focus on trying to get the most out of what that talent base is, and then wherever we're lacking, that'll be up to me to adapt and add and try to get our organization to continue to take steps in a positive direction.
Kyle, I've never called anyone to let them know they're the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, so I'm just curious. On your end, like, do you just call them and say it's go time and hang up? Like, how does that work for Kyle Dubas? When was the call made? Like, just to take me in the inside, because you guys have known each other a long time.
Yeah, so I mean, we had a once we kind of, without getting too deep into the inner workings of it, it was all very fast because of the timing of it. It wasn't the whole long process, but there also wasn't anybody else considered, and I didn't think there needed to be, given what we know about Sheldon. But yesterday morning, after I knew the Marlies were done, he and I had a discussion and conversation, and very quickly had to move things along. So it was essentially exactly that. Like, if this is it. So, I mean, here's what's happening. Here's what we've decided to do as an organization. Here's what the day is going to look like. Given our relationship, I don't think there was a lot that he needed to ask about me about what my expectations were, and not me for him either. So that eliminated a lot of what would have been a frantic day and made it even more complex than I've already elected to make it. But it made it all pretty easy. And then we were just trying to knock down the various different things that needed to happen. We were fortunate that we're 2 hours behind, so that gave us a little bit more time in terms of people getting out here at a reasonable hour and rolling from there. But as difficult as it was it was strangely, on the one hand, as I said, I'm disappointed that I couldn't make it work with Mike. On the other hand, I am excited to be working with Sheldon. I've had a very good working relationship in the past, and I know that this is the highest level and the most challenging level, and will provide the greatest amount of resistance to what we'll try to do. But I'm excited to work on that together.
From the Sue to the show, we understand this has not been easy in any way, shape, or form over the last couple of days, which is why we appreciate you joining us here today and giving us a little bit of your time. Thanks for doing this, Kyle.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too. There is Kyle Dubas from Arizona.